Guys, so everybody knows everybody knows me as somebody that loves Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, and obviously we've got the third one coming out, which has got the fourth one also in the title. So this is IGN's review on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4. We're going to see if it's still buyable. There's been some good news about it, so I'm just going to play the video and we're going to react.
Remakes and remasters are very much an in thing at the moment, and while it's no surprise that we would eventually see what are arguably two of the best entries in the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater series make their way to modern platforms, I definitely didn't expect this package to be as robust of a remake as it's shaping up to be. From the instantly recognizable levels of THPS 3 to the controls that activated a muscle memory I didn't realize was stored in my brain for over 20 years, yeah, I'm old, and
from what I see straight off the bat is it's kept the aesthetic out of the first remake of the games, and like literally, wow, I think that's the Canada level in the background there. It looks very, very familiar, and it looks really crisp, man. I'm liking that.
refreshing pick up and play 2-minute time limits, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 is definitely shaping up to not only be one of 2025's better remakes, but a game that'll keep you kicking and pushing for dozens of hours this summer. As the name suggests, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 is a remake of both games with a modern facelift, new parks and skaters, and most importantly, a banger of a soundtrack. It plays exactly like it did back when it was released on PlayStation 2, and it's clear that this is definitely
Absolutely cannot wait to tear shit up on the suburbs. That was one of my go-to levels as a kid, man. I absolutely loved that level. Sorry.
if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of remake. There's a sense of nostalgia I felt when revisiting classic maps like THPS 3's Suburbia and 4's College, and while those definitely look much better now for, obvious reasons, it still felt like the same games my friends and I stayed up way too late playing on Friday nights
Behave,
all those
shut
years
up.
ago. The wackiness and the weirdness of the Tony Hawk games is still here, and outside of a few modern updates to the roster and the promise of new tricks and a new game plus mode, this is definitely the Tony Hawk that you remember from
Okay, so there's
yesteryear.
new game plus mode.
That's not to say it's all hard flips and smooth pavement though. While Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 plays really smoothly and the inclusion of the traditional 2-minute timer works surprisingly well, the lack of the campaign mode is a bit of a sore spot in an otherwise promising remake. The game's purists might
Okay, so they've took the campaign mode. I'm guessing that's for Tony Hawk's 4. I didn't show Tony Hawk's 4 much love when I was a kid. I didn't think they were really doing brilliant games then. And, like, to me, the 2-minute time limit on both sets of games, it isn't too bad because that's how I play Tony Hawk's. That is how I learned to play Tony Hawk's. That is the way Tony Hawk's was intended to be played. But I am going to say for the folks that were big fans of Tony Hawk's 4, that's got to be a little bit of a letdown because the career, it actually helped you move around the map, get used to the map and that. Like, I mean, I know of Tony Hawk's 4, and I know that's what basically started the Fug style of play. Basically, you get off your shit and just walk around and stuff like that, and pick goals at your leisure. That was a cool little addition, but I don't think it's a massive knock to the actual game because it's if you look at it in the grand scheme of things, yeah, you're still gonna have the same goals. Most of them are time based anyway. Most people can't get 10 out of 10 goals in first try in the 2 minutes anyway, so there's that replayability. So I think these people are literally complaining at nothing, if I'm being honest. And like I said, I can understand if you was a fan of the original game and you wanted everything brought back originally, but we've seen in a lot of remakes over the coming years that, like, they have the resources to do this, but sometimes it's not always the way. Look at Resident Evil 3 with the clock tower. They took out possibly the best part of the game, and with the hospital. Like, don't get me wrong, they still added the hospital and aspects of the clock tower in it, but it was not enough. It didn't hit the same feels as the original game, but like, that wasn't the main concern with Resident Evil 3. The main concern was Resident Evil 3 was too short. Now, if you're going to put a 2-minute time limit on every level on Tony Hawk's, that's just going to make the game last longer in my eyes. I'm sorry, but that's just going to leave you running back and completely doing it over and over again, getting itself perfect, finding your lines, finding your combo runs and all that stuff. So, like, to me, that's a benefit. I'm not going to lie, that is a benefit.
Might be let down from this, but after playing for a few hours, I didn't really miss it much. There's something refreshing about playing a game that respects my time and limits me to shorter bursts of gameplay in an age where every game wants me to play it for hundreds of hours on end. While career mode would have been a cool inclusion, there's still a lot here that's worth sinking your teeth into. Thankfully, nothing's been messed with and the gameplay feels natural. And within minutes, I was pulling off long grinds into manuals, back into grinds, and chasing that ever-elusive higher score while flying around the map trying to fill out Skate. After a few minutes of tripping over myself in a comically over-the-top way, the controls quickly came back to me and I was flying around suburbia, heel flipping over cars, and popping off that satisfying orchestra hit whenever I landed a special move.
Love that sound.
Music to my ears.
Love that sound. Indeed, bro. Indeed.
The new map Water Park felt like it was always part of the original games, and it was easily one of the most fun levels to grind around and discover its secrets.
This part doesn't look familiar to
Tony
me.
Hawk's Pro Skater's addictive gameplay loop kept me wanting more whenever the timer ticked down to the last few seconds, and I frequently found myself quickly hopping back in for just one more run. In a time where it seems like every game from the early 2000s is...
Which covers my point, what I said. It's got that playability factor if you just keep that 2-minute time limit in.
Getting a modern facelift, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 is shaping up to be a welcome addition in a year full of excellent remakes and remasters. From its faithful recreation of what made the PS2 era classics so memorable, to its modern quality of life improvements, excellent soundtrack, and overall love letter to the series' early days, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 is very much something that should be on your radar if you're a fan of skateboarding, enjoy action sport games, or just want to play something that's simple and fun. It might be the easiest kickflip you'll land all year.
Sure, anybody tried London the
For more
kickflip?
previews of the latest upcoming games, don't miss out on our recent looks at The Outer Worlds 2 and Ninja.
Well, gotta give big shouts out to IGN. That was quite informative for a short video, and like basically, yeah, I'm still definitely excited for it. So if you hit me in the comments, what is the main thing that you are looking forward to in this game? And would you like to see it expanded on, like with DLC and stuff? Let me know in the comments, guys. I hope you're having a lovely day. Peace and love, guys.